Hi, my name is June Almadin, and I have been managing projects and programs for more than 20 years now. I've started my project management career managing PCs, servers, and networks installation in IBM, and later on moving to manage IT outsourcing projects. And for the last 10 years, I've been managing global mergers and acquisition projects in many regions, and I'm based here now in UK. I work for a global professional services company operating in over 160 countries across many regions. My service line or my function specializes in M&A transactions, and the type of projects I manage are usually integration of businesses, divestments, spin-offs, or setup of joint ventures. My typical day or a week. In the line of business I'm in, I usually do not have what we call a typical day or a week. It's mainly due to the nature of an M&A transaction or M&A projects that I work in. However, there are three constants that I always look at in my engagement. The first one is travel. I usually travel to at least 2 countries every week, may it be in US or South America, here in Europe of course, and sometimes in Asia Pacific. So travel is always a constant theme to my projects. The second one is stakeholder engagement. It's a constant engagement with the stakeholders, may it be the client's management team like CIO or CFO, or my team, of course. I need to engage with them on a regular basis to make sure that we are all on the same page when it comes to the direction of the project, the milestones that we need to hit, or the deliverables that we need to deliver. And of course, there are times that I have to engage with third-party providers as well outside my company. And the third constant is planning. I remember when I was studying my PMI certification way back, that planning is the first stage of the project. But I came to realize that planning's always been a constant throughout the project anyway. So not just on the planning phase, but throughout your delivery phase and even your closing phase of the project. So it's a never-ending planning throughout. So like I said, there's no similar thing on a weekly basis, but constant thing are again travel, stakeholder engagement, and never-ending planning. The type of projects or what I enjoy most in projects. So 3 things that I enjoy most in my projects. The first one is the people engagement. I'm a very extroverted person, so engaging people around me, again, may it be my client, may it be my team, or even my peers, something that gives me the buzz and the energy throughout my daily routine as a project manager. Also, seeing my projects through the whole life cycle from the planning stage on to the closing is something that really energizes me and makes me excited on my projects. Seeing what you have planned earlier on being realized at the end of the project is something that gives me the motivation to look for the next project in my company. And the third one that I like most in my life as a project manager and indeed managing project is the variety. I always tell my team there's no similar projects throughout. Each project is always unique. Of course, we have different clients that we deliver our projects or provide support for their projects. We have different M&A transactions, as I just mentioned, whether it's a divestment, integration, joint ventures, or spin-off. And of course, I also work on different sectors. Even in life sciences, you talk about clients in the pharma business, in the biotech business, or medical devices. And the same is true in financial services. I deal with banking clients, insurance clients, and even wealth management clients in many occasions. So it's the uniqueness of the project is something that really excites me, Each project have got unique requirements, they have unique objectives, and of course, your clients have different and unique expectations as well. And all of this combined makes me really see a project management career as something that's really enjoyable for me and something that I look forward to in the future as well. So, as I mentioned a while ago, having involved in unique projects is really enjoyable, at least for me as a project manager. However, the uniqueness of any project also poses as a challenge to myself and indeed for other project managers. And whilst we are used to having project management playbooks, methodologies, standard approaches, whilst they are good, I always treat them more as a framework, like a signpost to guide me and my team on how we will do about with each phase of the project. However, as I mentioned, because of the uniqueness of the projects, you always have to apply that level of experience, how you've seen it before, what works and what doesn't work, and how you can improve on doing things is always something that you need to be mindful of in applying when you're faced with these challenges, like I said, with regards to the unique nature of the project. The other challenge that I always see is also around managing the expectations of your clients. On my case, each client have their own expectations, and that expectation always changes as well throughout the course of the project. And whilst we as project manager were taught to have our scope, our time, and our budget pretty much on a good balance, you have to apply that level of flexibility so that if a client somehow changes their expectations that will lead to change in your scope or your time or your budget, you need to be able to have a really solid and robust conversations with them in order for you to be able to deliver your project more effectively and more efficiently. And the third challenge that I always see in my project is around ensuring that your team is motivated. Nothing can beat a real motivated and innovative team. And it's really important for us, especially in the times of pandemic, to be mindful of the challenges, especially the personal challenges that they have, the challenges from working from home, the challenges of not being face-to-face with their clients, and therefore being able to explain what we should be doing and not doing is sometimes a challenge to other people. And if they cannot get those in line with their personal expectations, that poses a challenge when it comes to their motivation. So making sure that you're aware of the team temperature, the morale of the team, as a challenge, and making sure you address them all the time will make you a successful project manager. At least for me, those are the three key challenges that I always see and I'm very mindful of in each project that I've been in. When I handle my team, I usually apply three key principles. The first one is empathy. Each of my team members are unique as well. In many cases, whilst I always bring with me my usual team members, my team members change over time as well. For different projects will require different skills and therefore different team members. Making sure that I apply that level of empathy all the time throughout the project is something that I always think about when I'm handling my teams. The other one is being compassionate. I mean, we Filipinos are very, very good at that. It comes very natural for us. And it's something that I have seen people really like in our culture, in our DNA. And I always apply that level of compassion, whoever they are, wherever they sit, whatever culture, nationality they are. If you apply your true self, being authentic and being compassionate will make your team work really well on how, and especially on how you want them to drive the project. And the third one is being inclusive. Nowadays, we hear a lot of diversity and inclusion as a critical aspect of our daily lives, and it's no different when you're managing a project or indeed a project team. Being inclusive, and for me, being inclusive is not just around, looking at the lens in terms of gender or in terms of sexuality or religion. For me, I also see the differences in terms of our experiences, our education, our past projects that we've been through, and really generating those ideas and differences to your advantage and to your team's advantage, and making sure that you leverage all of this nice stuff to make your project successful is something that I always apply when I'm managing a team. Of course, I do have a lot of difficult stakeholders. We always do that. I always have that all the time, especially as I deal with different stakeholders in many countries. Their expectations, even dealing with same company, their expectations differ from one to the other. So for me, the way I manage those difficult stakeholders all boils down to 3 points for me all the time. It works. The first one is listening. It's really important for me to understand where they're coming from, so I let them talk, and I listen, and see where they're coming from. And the next one is for me to have an open and honest conversation. I'm sure all of us in the Philippines, we always have this amiable personality. We tend to be very subservient sometimes, and hopefully this been changing. And in my early days here in Europe, I've been very much like a subservient person. But through the ages, I realized that we cannot be like that. Not because you're gonna be trampled on, but because people will not take you seriously. So I always have an open and honest conversation, sometimes robust. I challenge them when I have to. That's my job. I've been paid to challenge my clients as well. And that's the value that they'll get from us, and indeed from me, if I give them an advice that maybe sometimes is not in line with how they think. So I always do that when I have difficult stakeholders. And the third one is with difficult stakeholders, I also always end up with planning and agreeing the next steps on how we can divert or move on to the same level of understanding. What's the happy medium between the two of us? And if you can do that, or if I can do that, I think these difficult stakeholders in the end won't turn out to be a difficult stakeholder, but more of an ally for me. I've been very fortunate that in the last 10 years, I've been managing global projects that involves many other team members and clients from different countries with different cultures. And for me, it's a very fulfilling experience. But for me to be able to generate the brightest idea in the team, or getting the right buy-in from the client, being able to be aware of the cultural differences is really, really beneficial. I always make sure that before I kick off a project, I have a stakeholder map to really understand what the culture looks like, of each of the team members, what the culture looks like of the client as well. And there is indeed a lot of difference. For example, like I mentioned, folks in Asia Pacific, like us, Japanese, for example, we are very subservient. Whilst on the other hand, many Western stakeholders, they tend to be quite bold, sometimes quite aggressive. And having those two competing cultures on a table sometimes will bring you the best, and you will always hope for that, or probably the worst if they have always clashing. So for me, the way I work on it is I tend to be mindful of where, or sometimes how, clients will react to a certain situation. If, let's say, a stakeholder is very, very quiet simply because they're Asians, they don't want to rock the boat, that's fine. So I tend to have a quiet conversation, a fireside conversation with them to understand where they're coming from or what the decisions looks like. And the same is true for other cultures. So that's important for me. I'm also the other thing that I also do when I'm dealing with different culture is being able to be open to everyone's insights, everyone's ideas, and really generate those great minds wherever they come from, and generate the experiences, leveraging the experiences to bring the best of the team and get the most maximum output of a project is really important for me. And the third one is when I'm dealing with the different cultures is really just encouraging everyone to contribute. Again, different cultures have different ways of contributing, and really finding those subtleties on how you can get the best contribution from these stakeholders and indeed team members from different cultures is really, really critical. Unfortunately, there's no science to it. It's always an art. So as a project manager, you kinda get that, hone that experience or hone that kinda extra superpower, if you like, to generate those ideas from different cultures. And if you can get that, you can be assured that it's it gives you the maximum benefit that you can get from the team, and making and make your team successful by generating innovative ideas from them. I must admit, I really didn't plan to be a project manager when I was in the university. I took up computer engineering in PLM, and on my 5th year, I've been fortunate to be invited by IBM to join them in their client services division focused around mainframe, mid-range, and network installation. And I've been given the opportunity to manage mid-range servers or mainframe server installations, networks, and such like. So my career overnight, or my career aspirations, flipped overnight from the software side of things to the hardware side of things. But I don't regret that. I learned a lot managing those types of projects, which again throughout the years have evolved from hardware infrastructure type projects to outsourcing projects. And as I mentioned, when I moved here in UK, I've been exposed to mergers and acquisition type projects. But to me, as I mentioned a while ago, the uniqueness of the different projects, the different people I engage with, the different clients that I've been interacting with, is something that really motivated me to continue my career as a project manager. Perhaps 3 things. The first one, as a project manager, you should be resilient. For us Filipinos, it's very, very easy. It's part of our DNA as well. So in our projects, there's always a risk, there's always an issue that comes along, there's always a problem that pops up. But being able to face that with level-headedness, open-mindedness, just simply being resilient, that being aware that this will happen anyway, and finding the right solution for those, is something that we need to hone really, really big time as a project manager. The second one is be a consistent and a tenacious learner. Of course, if you are pursuing a PMI or any other certification, that's well and good, but it doesn't stop there. Depending on the types of projects that you do, if it's something to do with IT, there's so many areas in IT nowadays that you can be either an expert or aware of, from analytics to big data to robotics and all those kinds of things. Being able to constantly be aware of what's happening in your respective sector is really, really important as a project manager. And I think the third one that I would like to advise is, don't be afraid to take risks. right? Always explore new ways of working. How do you innovate even your delivery methods, the delivery approach, and being able to and be brave to experiment on some of those is something that we need to do as a project manager. I know in our training, when we're doing training or classes in project management, we've always been taught of being too regimented. That's good. However, again, as the projects becomes more and more complex, there's various aspects of projects nowadays that comes along from the technology aspect of it, the people aspect of it, and the business objectives as well. Trying to experiment and again, said be brave on looking for or exploring new ways of working. It's something that will help you in the future in your career as a PM.